that banner, so gonna have to abandon teammates and just play for safety and pray to God that nobody sees them in rotation.
Ironically enough, for anybody who tuned in to week number 1, this is the exact same start. Dropped by Dome, got dropped early, and then had to battle back throughout the rest of the week. So 303, rough start for them, but still a lot of games to play here as we jump over with which we got signed, shooting on top of this building, able to get down 1 and revive his teammate in Caustic. An agent and a character that's actually been used more and more. We talk about that defensive style, and now that his gas actually doesn't affect the slowness of his teammates. As that Hemlock coming out, trying to land a couple shots, that burst and the buff to heavy a couple patches ago, making them more and more viable.
Oh, Caustic might not damage teammates, but he still makes it hellaciously hard to see. As you can see, Caustic still trying to hold up the defense up there, but NRG is going to lose one of them very quickly, dropping off the side of it. Pal's trying to hold up defensive lines for his teammates. Jackson's on the other side of this. Got to be very careful with it. Might be able to get the res back over towards Madness. Looks like that is going to go off. Good defensive positioning based up around this respawn point that could buy them a little bit. Feeds the information back over towards the other two teammates. But uh-oh, looks like we see a little bit of a fight breaking out. Solo Feedy's got to be very careful. Probably taking a lot of damage. Gonna have to try to get back and away from this when Metro's holding the line for his teammates. Gonna go down. And then there was one. Make that none. Already going out. That's going to be Solo fight each other or just hunker down behind rocks with nowhere else left to go.
Hey man, the name is Shiny Muffins, and they've got Protectful on their team, and they're living up to that name. Doing whatever they can to keep him safe. His aim assist here, putting some shots. Got really good high ground here. As shots coming in from the right-hand side. That might be Team Rogue, as Sentinels also finding themselves in a really tough spot. Well, as we count down the last couple of seconds here, you're going to see all these teams have to start rotating here in the next 5 or so. But part of the reason why people grab this Wraith, the capabilities here, drop that portal and get the increased movement speed with the phase shift, and ends up jumping right on that whole team was waiting. The worst spot for Sentinels to find and has to go back and meet his demise. What an unlucky situation.
Just delivered a portal to another team that was sitting there in a trapped position. Hate to see it or love to see it, depending on which team you're rooting for from there. Nice bit of damage coming out from up on top, and you can see the strength from high ground, but you have to be careful. Once you start taking those shots, you're going to draw a lot of attention, and your profile in that high ground can make you very vulnerable based off of different angles. Trying to get a little bit more defense as the ring is starting to collapse down on top of them. You can see a lot of work coming out here. Shotguns coming out and go Lord, just trying to finish out anybody that's flushed around them. So just getting control now as TLP has some angles to work with, but Rogue looks like they're taking themselves into a little bit longer of a skirmish with some beautiful shots.
TLP, our team in 10th place, been absolutely aggressive here, utilizing that high ground as they come back in, but Liquid still has 1 player remaining. Canner gets for the revive, but no more left. So going to be in a solo situation as we get down to our last 7 squads. Rogue takes out NRG now, so that's TSM and NRG in the favor of Rogue. Finding themselves in a good spot, starting off strong here. Plenty of health, all healed up as TLP jumps up and tries to find some friends. Bobbing and weaving, using that shield, trying to get one, gets dropped by another. It is the last player for BKB as Rhythm just trying to do whatever they can to stay alive. Good shots coming out, ends up dropping down another, and might be able to actually get a revive on the teammate, but going to try to flush this kill and get the guaranteed points.
Gotta be careful. Looks like trying to feed a little bit more information, doing the call for bringing up the shields. You can see right now we're in the thick of it as teams are dropping down everywhere. There's nowhere really to fight that's safe right now. A lot of teams just kind of cowering back down in any divot that they can find to work with. Res does come back up, and now it's just a matter of time to try to get their meds back into a position. They've got rope lines to work with, but have to be very cautious as they're on the complete opposite side of the circle from the safe zone. They've got to be very cautious in how they're going to make the approach, because look at these long-range shots coming back over from them across the way. Not a lot of different areas to work with, a lot of damage coming out, as well as Rhythm just narrowly gets away from that, but is going to get spotted out. Finally loses and taken down.
It's a really good push, but you're seeing the advantage of Rogue having that high ground and just really no one on their back end. They're the ones that were kind of pressuring that team that portaled in on top of Shiny Protect. So having a really rough time as these guys rotating in, just trying to put any pressure they can. G7 Scout becoming a fan favorite. As 37 or 32 to the body or head, I forget which one it is, but it's a lot of damage for that poke. So underneath the bridge, protected from Gibraltar's ult. Nothing they got to really worry about here is they're just trying to find the C rotate in. They do spot him, gets on top. Sweet put in a ton of damage, but is a solo, so gonna have to back off, but that's something that Rogue does very well with Snipe Down and the rest. As one goes in and applies aggression, they're able to then kind of take turns and just keep rotating through. As no pressure being applied, they are on circles, so both these teams, even though they got one dropped, are going to get the revive, and probably my favorite revive animation is coming from Watson with that kind of electric charge to shock him back to life.
or you hit on something that's extremely vital in these late game positions. Whenever you have one of your members take a lot of damage or potentially go down, one member has to commit to going for the res, and the other one has to make sure that they're in an aggressive position to try to defend this one out. Meanwhile, got a nice little rat hiding out, trying to get a little bit of a play off. Rogue's still out, trying to get a little bit more information. Has an idea on what's going on with all the positions around them. So we're down to 3 squads remaining, but Rogue in a very dominant position. They've got the shields to work with. They've got the ammo to handle it. They've got a nice position, but have to be very careful as there is the high ground and the low ground based off of this point. So you have to figure out how they're going to take this. If they have to choose to go up and after a fight, they have to make sure that their approach is the safest possible.
Well, we got Signed and Rogue both looking extremely healthy. It looks like Rogue does pick up yet another one. So more kill points coming out for them. As they have a team here on the outside. Bunch of damage coming out from that Eva. As they spot Rogue. Right. Good shots coming out here from Madness.
Nice spray coming in. We got Signed. Look like they're going to hold down the top. They've got a lot of crates to work with to keep them up and active inside of this. Be careful as they're trying to stretch out, get a little bit more information. But they're now in the late game with a Caustic. And that could be extremely detrimental to anybody that's wanting to move into an aggressive fight, as we are now just 2 teams remaining. You got one on top, one on the bottom, but with Caustic, you can just launch those teams right back down on top of them. Really make the other team's life miserable, as it looks like we might be setting up for a potential med battle. Neither team really wanting to step into the other's territory.
Yeah, benefit for the Caustic as well. With that Kraber, you want to talk about the ability to entry frag or entry damage. All it takes is one crack of that, and they're going to give him the shield for it. So if he takes that kind of over-aggressive peak, all he's got to do is make sure he lands at least one shot, and then we've got our last 2 teams here between We Got Signed as well as Rogue. So one's got high ground, one's got low ground, but with Caustic, a big advantage is just trying to find one. Just needs to land the shot, but well aware, if you peek that for too long, you could find yourself in trouble.
Nice little sneaky peek that we're going back and forth onto this, looking back down through the little bit of a grate there. You know, maybe they can shoot down through the road, but have to be careful as they're actually taking a little bit of tick damage off of this one as well. Now it's starting to become a little bit of a battle of peekaboo. The problem with it is Maxilon has a very scary weapon to be playing peekaboo with right now. If he gets vision on anybody, like you were saying a second ago, if he just gets a tap on them, that is going to be the potential go button to just go from a full-on defense on the top into switching back down and going full aggression down towards the bottom. Really deny a chance to go for any form of meds, try to get that armor back up. Like you can see, there is so much Watson defense being placed back down underneath of the road on top of that, just giving an extra layer of protection.
And that's what this Rogue team is trying to do, is just set up for this last push. I mean, roughly 30 seconds, and it depends. Maybe some teams want to kind of catch them off guard. Both teams know exactly what it is, and that kind of element of surprise if they just jump down. The other thing, too, is they know which way this way is going to kind of center around, so for that Caustic, the ability to drop down possibly some of these gas traps and maybe get a couple tick damage, but can you see that Wraith dropping down, the ability to use high and low ground?
Give them a nice little bit of an angle to reposition, step outside the zone for just a second, get their shots back in.
Yep, iframes as well.
I got to be very careful. You can looks like Signed is thinking about making the drop down. Maybe, okay, we're getting enough damage, we're doing enough attrition damage over towards them to really make it, give us the opportunity to come through. The problem with it is Rogue just has too many tools to work with. They're denying every single thing they can go through. This is all coming back down towards the center of the circle. This is where the drop's going to come through. You can see everybody's starting to hop down onto it, but it's a beautiful sight line. Rogue has plenty to work with, and it is just a massacre as everybody is running right into their line of fire. Rogue is going to walk away with a very quick pickup and a round victory.
I mean, you just want to see what makes the good teams great. We're looking at that Prowler and how much damage it actually puts down. And with no pressure on him, just able to completely shred that team. Not even a chance to use the portal. And congratulations to Rogue here, being your champions in game number 1. Congrats to them. Going to get a lion's share of the points, and a lot of teams that were demolished throughout that as well. So
Rogue's got about 20 more seconds to try to make something work out of this. They're getting a lot of little tap damage to work with onto it, but not really spotting out the other members, so they're really not going to go after that last solo, as they don't even, I don't think they have awareness of what's going on in that spot.
I mean, if I'm gentrifying, I won't tell if you don't, man. At this point, you're just kind of waiting for this action behind you to just go away. The other thing, too, is on these rotations, has a really good opportunity to just kind of third-party it, sit in the back end, wait. But it looks like gentrifying is going to make his way out, so catching another team off guard. But a rough rotation, as you see Unknown here with the high ground, but doing a really good job with their coordination. Pretty reminiscent, actually, of TSM with the way that they've been communicating effectively and choosing these battles. But good positioning here as a lot of teams try to rotate in. You start to see Blur trying to use and make some damage with that Hemlock. Going with the single tap, getting hit in the backside. Needs to be careful. Gonna drop down the Gibraltar. This could be their last chance to heal. This does look like. Yeah, Simply has been having a rough time.
4 teams up and active and not a lot of cover to work with. You can see everything's out and in the open. Teams now starting to take shots at each other as they can, trying to find any crevice that they can try to hide down into to try to get their meds back up for these final remaining fights. It's going to be Liquid off to the side of it that do have a little bit of a dip to function with and keep just trying to do peak after peak. So we now drop down to 3. TSM's playing off to the other side of this one, and it looks like it's just going to be a battle of vision as Liquid is just starting to step up on any rock that they can find, try to use that to rain down death and destruction on anybody that's approaching up on top of this hillside. Now slowly starting to creep their way forward. They've got a lot of close range weapons to work with, but they've got a Gibraltar bubble up in front of them, waiting for that to die out, seeing maybe they can pick up a couple more meds, maybe some more ammo to work with, treat back away off in this one, but now it looks like everything's starting to settle down. They're going to have to approach up off the other side of this hill. Back down on the other side of it, the TSM is in a fairly defensive position and got a lot to work with.
Yeah, a big thing for TSM is they were able to get Hal back up, so fully healthy with all 3 players, as it looks like we do have a 3v3v3, Liquid, TSM, and I can't see who the last one is on the bottom right, but it's Simply and the boys currently deemed as Team 18, so pretty tough for them. They've been using the kind of this deflate to the best of their ability. But Liquid over on that other side, as well as TSM on the low side, have them in a really rough spot, especially with having the wide rotation. So, gonna have to make the hard shift here as the clock counts down in Gibraltar. This could be their chance. They need to push this quickly. The difficulty, though, is that high ground is in a really rough spot, and TSM's got their number.
TSM has so much control inside this fight. They've got cover to work with. They've got their defenses firmly in place. They're just raining down death as people are starting to get into the third-party fight. They're just looking back over the hillside, and it's just shot connecting after shot connecting. You can see Hal is just decimating everything that's going on around him. He's got the angle to work with, but finally his high ground was aggressed upon. Going for a flank around the outside of it, hitting a couple more shots into it. This is starting to turn up everything in TSM's favor. They do have one of their members down, but they have the tools to still work with as they are just continuing to assault up this hillside. Brett goes off to the other side of this, trying to get a couple more tap shots into it, starting to put it into the work. Really starting to make TSM work for these last couple of hits onto it. Constantly running around the outside, but looking back up the hillside.
What a shot from Reese.
Beautiful plays. That was a disadvantaged position and a clutch point, and still somehow managed to walk away with the win.
That's just a really smart play for Reese. He's in a pretty much a 1v3. You see what Hal is doing with that Mastiff, dropping tons of damage down. But as he rotates back out, he sees all these boxes and he refills his shield all the way back to the top. And then he turns and drops down there with that R99. You want to talk about the ability to be in a really tough situation, but still have the game sense or the game IQ to kind of keep it level-headed and then utilize the advantage that you have next to you. That is very difficult to do. A lot of teams get so tunnel vision in those last fights where they're just like, I have to take the immediate impact. And instead, he backs off, takes his time, picks up shields, and gives himself the advantage ultimately and gets the victory. So, again, TSM looked like they had that one. They had advantage, but
yeah,
Reese and the boys, well done.
I mean, TSM had firm defense. They had fences down. They had Watson ultimate going